The first time I saw a gun pointed at my wife on our own front porch, I honestly thought I was dreaming. Then I heard the click-sharp reel, and the woman holding it said, "Hands up." Behind her, the HOA president smiled like she'd been waiting all week for this moment. We'd only lived in Maple Ridge Estates for 13 days. We were still figuring out which cabinet held the cereal, still unpacking boxes labeled kitchen, still trying to convince our son Noah that the creaky stairs weren't haunted. And then Linda Porter showed up. If you've ever lived near a homeowners association, you already know the type. Linda had that tight, crisp energy, perfect hair clipboard, a smile that never reached her eyes. She didn't introduce herself like a neighbor. She introduced herself like a warning. "Welcome," she said, standing at the edge of my driveway, not stepping 1 inch onto it. "Just so you're aware, Maple Ridge has standards." I nodded polite because that's what you do when you want peace. "Sounds good. We're happy to be here." She glanced past me at our porch like she was scanning a crime scene. "That flag," she said. "It's not approved." It was an American flag, hanging from a normal bracket, on a normal porch, like a million other homes. I blinked. "Approved by who?" Linda's pen hovered. "The HOA." I took a breath, kept my tone calm. "Our house isn't in the HOA. We're on the edge. Different parcel." Her smile twitched. "You live here. That makes you part of it." That was my first clue. This was going to be a long month. The next morning there was a notice stuck to our door like a parking ticket. "Violation exterior display. $50. Due in 7 days. Signed, Linda Porter." I emailed the HOA office, nicely attached the property line map from closing, highlighted the boundary. Even wrote, "I think there's been a mix-up." No response. 2 days later, another notice. This time it was about our trash bins being visible from the street. They were behind a fence. I swear if you stood in the road with binoculars, maybe you could see one corner. I walked over to Linda's house, knocked, tried to do it face to face. She opened the door 2 inches, chain still on. "You're escalating something that doesn't belong to you," I said, keeping my voice low because kids were outside. Linda didn't blink. "You're resisting community rules. That makes you everyone's problem." I laughed like the short kind you do when you can't believe a human being is saying that out loud. "Community rules don't apply to my deed." She leaned forward a fraction. "We'll see." A week later I came home and found a printed HOA notice taped over our doorknob right across the lock. "HOA access required. Lock replacement scheduled today. Failure to comply will result in forced entry." Forced entry. Over what exactly? A flag. A trash bin. A power trip. I stood there staring at the paper, feeling my stomach tighten. Sarah came up behind me, saw it, and went very still. Sarah's not easily rattled. She's the kind of person who doesn't waste emotion unless it's useful. The kind of person who listens more than she talks. And that's why when she said, "Jake, this isn't normal," I believed her. I called the number on the notice. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same. I emailed again, more direct, asked for a written explanation and proof we were part of their jurisdiction. 5 minutes later my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Linda, stop playing games. You're in Maple Ridge. You follow Maple Ridge rules." I stared at the screen and typed back, "We're not in your HOA. Do not touch our locks." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Linda." Then hand over the house key for compliance verification. Compliance verification, like she was a government agency. I didn't reply. I should have known that silence to someone like Linda reads as disrespect. The next day my neighbors started acting weird. One guy who had waved at me all week suddenly looked away. A woman walking her dog slowed down near our driveway like she wanted to see something, then sped up when I glanced over. That night, Sarah showed me a screenshot from the neighborhood Facebook group. Linda had posted new residents refusing HOA regulations. Potential security risk. Stay alert. A security risk. Because I wouldn't give her a key to my home. I felt heat climb up my neck, not the dramatic kind, the quiet, steady anger that says, "Okay, this person is willing to mess with our lives just to feel powerful." The morning. Everything broke. Noah was eating cereal at the kitchen island, still in pajamas, backpack by the door. Sarah was by the sink, coffee in her hand, hair pulled back. Then we heard the knock. Not a normal knock, the kind that hits the door like it's supposed to scare you into opening it faster. I stepped to the window and saw 2 women on our porch. One was Linda, of course, phone in hand, already recording. The other one I didn't recognize. Mid-30s hair in a tight bun, dark jacket, something shiny clipped near her chest that looked like a badge. She stood with her feet planted wide like she'd practiced it. Linda pointed at the door and said loudly, "That's him." I opened the door just a crack, keeping the chain on. "What is this?" The stranger snapped open the door all the way. "Who are you?" I asked. She angled her body so the badge caught the light. "Tiffany Blake." Enforcement. Enforcement of what I said, and I could hear my own voice staying calm on purpose. Linda stepped forward like she'd been waiting to speak. Homeowners Association compliance. We require a key to ensure standards aren't being violated. I actually thought I misheard her. A key to our house. Yes, Linda said like it was the most reasonable sentence ever spoken. Hand it over. Sarah walked up behind me, and I could feel her presence like a steadier pulse. No, she said simple. Tiffany's eyes flicked to Sarah, then down to her waistband. And then like a bad movie, she pulled a handgun. Not waved, not hinted, pulled. Time does this thing in moments like that. Everything narrows. I saw the muzzle. I saw Sarah's hands lift slowly, palms out. I saw Noah freeze behind the counter spoon halfway to his mouth. Tiffany barked, "Hands up, step back." Linda stood there filming, her mouth curled like she'd just proven a point. "Are you kidding me?" I said, and it came out low because if I raised my voice, I didn't know what would happen. Linda leaned in close enough that I could smell her perfume. "Give her the key," she whispered, sweet as syrup. "Or this gets messy." For half a second, my brain ran the fastest math of my life. Not feelings math. If I refuse, do they do something stupid? If I comply, do we ever get control back? If a real cop shows up and only sees a gun and yelling, "Who's the target?" I swallowed hard and realized my hands were shaking, not from fear for me, but because Noah was watching. Because Sarah was the one with a gun pointed at her. Sarah kept her voice flat. "Put it down." Tiffany's grip tightened. "You don't tell me what to do." Sarah looked right at her badge, then at Linda's phone, then back at Tiffany. "That badge is fake," she said, "and you're standing on private property." Linda snapped, "Don't lecture us. You're under pichet." Sarah cut her off without raising her voice. "You're not law enforcement. You're not getting a key. And if you don't back up, I'm calling the sheriff and telling them exactly what's happening." Tiffany hesitated, just a flicker. So I moved slowly, hands visible, and reached into my pocket for my phone. Linda's eyes widened. "Don't you dare." "I'm doing it," I said. And this is where Linda made her biggest mistake. She thought she could control the story by controlling the camera. She didn't realize we had cameras too. Our doorbell cam had been recording the whole thing. Linda's face, Tiffany's badge the moment the gun came out, the way Linda kept talking like she was ordering lunch. I hit 911. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded like someone who wanted to survive the next 60 seconds. "Jackson County Sheriff," the dispatcher said. "There's a woman on my porch with a firearm," I said. "She's pretending to be enforcement for the Homeowners Association. The HOA president is here filming it. My address is—" Linda exploded. "He's lying. He's threatening us." Tiffany's eyes darted around like she suddenly remembered there were houses everywhere, windows everywhere, curtains shifting, people watching. The dispatcher asked, "Is anyone injured?" "No," I said, "but she's aiming at my wife." I heard the dispatcher's tone change. "Stay on the line. Deputies are en route." Linda stepped forward, jabbing a finger towards Sarah like a prosecutor. "She has a weapon. She's dangerous. Sarah didn't even flinch. She just said, "Linda, stop, right now." Linda sneered. "Or what? Or what?" 2 minutes later, a sheriff's SUV turned the corner, tires crunching gravel. Then another. Deputy Alvarez stepped out firsthand, up voice firm. "Ma'am, put the weapon down, now." Tiffany's entire posture collapsed. The gun lowered like it weighed 1,000 pounds, then hit the porch boards with a dull clack. Sergeant Thompson walked up, eyes moving over everything, the fake badge, Linda's phone still recording. Sarah standing with her hands still raised like she hadn't been sure it was safe to drop them. Thompson pointed at Tiffany's badge. "Where did you get that?" Tiffany's lips trembled. I'm contracted." Linda jumped in fast. "She's our enforcement. It's completely legal. They refuse HOA compliance." Deputy Alvarez turned his head slowly toward Linda like he was giving her one last chance to choose silence. "This address is not within your homeowners association," he said. Linda blinked. "That's impossible." "It's not," I said, and held my phone out with the property map and deed info pulled up. "We already confirmed. twice. Thompson held out his hand. "Do you have recording?" I tapped my screen, played the clip. Linda's voice filled the air, bright and smug. "Just stand like a cop. They'll fold. Everyone folds." The street went quiet in a way that felt heavy. Even the neighbors who'd been peeking didn't move. Linda's face drained. "That's out of context." Alvarez nodded once, like he'd heard every excuse 100 times. "Ma'am," he said to Linda, "turn around." Linda's mouth opened. No words came out. Sergeant Thompson took Linda's phone from her hand, powered it off, and Alvarez cuffed her right there on my porch, in front of the same camera she thought would humiliate us. As they walked her down the steps, Linda tried one last time. I was protecting property values. Alvarez didn't even look back. "You were impersonating authority and escalating with a firearm." Linda's heels clicked on the walkway too fast, like she wanted to outrun the reality of what she'd done. I stood in the doorway, shoulder to shoulder with Sarah, watching the person who'd tried to take control of our home get led into a sheriff's vehicle. And the only thing I could think was how close we came to being another neighborhood incident that never should have existed. Here's the lesson: never hand your power to someone who confuses a clipboard with a badge.